A bill is advancing in the Florida legislature that would remove current child labor protections for 16 and 17-year-olds. From member station WFSU, Tristan Wood reports their employers could require them to work full-time and even overnights on school days.
Supporters say the bill would allow parents and families to make decisions about their children. Critics are saying it's coming up now to make up for labor shortages in the state due to crackdowns on immigration. They're pointing to these comments Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made at an immigration roundtable last week.
Why do we say we need to import foreigners, even import them illegally, when, teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be, all this stuff.
Loosening child labor protections has become a growing trend in recent years, with over a dozen states reducing their protections. It's unclear if this bill has the votes to pass.
Morning. Florida, come on up to the front.
Florida debates lifting some child labor laws to fill jobs vacated by...
Florida, you voted for strict immigration laws. You cheered when the state cracked down on undocumented workers. You thought you were protecting American jobs. And now, just months later, businesses are struggling, the economy is suffering. Wait for it. You are now turning to child labor to fix the problem. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. If you're coming across this channel for the first time, my name is Rosemary. Kindly consider subscribing to my channel and give this video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Before we get to the video, let me play a few clips on the same and I'll be back with my commentary. All credit goes to the original creators of these videos.
Florida, where I live, is trying to roll back labor laws that have protected children. Outside of the glaringly obvious, this is problematic for a number of reasons. Least of all is the fact that, unfortunately, due to such a low minimum wage and the working conditions of families in Florida and around the country, many families do have their children working to help them pay for basic needs, food, shelter, things like that. The one thing that these kids had protecting them was the ability to say, no, legally, I can't work an all-nighter. No, legally, I can only work so many hours a week. Those protections are going to be rolled back. Now the families that have their children working are in a situation where, do we sacrifice the well-being of our child and also our food? It's a ridiculous scenario. That's not even all. I foster. And when you are fostering, especially teens, a lot of the benefits that they receive are conditional upon them being in school, which many of them don't want to be, or working. That means that unless the child is working, they may not be eligible for extended support beyond the age of 18. That means if the child is not working, they might not be eligible for vouchers and other assistance with housing, with food, with basic needs. So these children who have already been taken away from their families for whatever reason, now not only have to work in order to maintain any level of benefits, which let me tell you, these benefits are not enough for these kids to survive as is, but to even keep those, now they are even more vulnerable. These are kids who generally do not have parents that would advocate and say, no, my kid's not working those hours. We'll find them another job. These are kids that they are going to exploit. This is going to be dangerous. This is going to be harmful. It's disgusting that this is happening. And yeah, we in Florida, they already fucked around and we are finding out every day. People are disappearing for activism and now they're coming after the kids. They did this when they started banning books. They did this when they started trying to silence teachers and ignore vital portions of world history. If you read the fascism handbook, like step 1, go after the kids, stop educating, dumb them down, force them to work. I mean, we are in this horrible nosedive where we are just spinning backwards in time. And I'm truly disgusted. And honestly, I'm scared because several years ago, I think this couldn't happen. Even if they brought up a bill that's this stupid, like we don't have to worry about it. Trust me when I say I'm worried. And I'm not worried for me and I'm not worried for my kids. I'm worried for every other child that does not have the privilege my children have. So it is extremely important that everyone fights against this, makes calls, shows up. We have to fight because the kids this will affect, they may not have people that are able to fight and advocate for them. And they're not able to vote on this. We as adults have people voting on things that are going to directly impact these children that they have no say in. So get active, get vocal, and help. We got to do something.
Why Florida considering getting rid of the child labor laws or lifting the child labor laws? Because all of the jobs that the undocumented immigrants had, they can't fill them. Let me get this straight. You got rid of undocumented immigrants, and now you can't find bodies to do these jobs. So your thought was, how about we make the workforce younger? We allow people as young as 14 years old to be able to work overnight. They don't... School? Who cares about school? They're making me money. Those kids don't need to get rest. They stay up all night playing video games anyway. They might as well work. Instead of the adults who just happen to be in the country illegally. Instead of getting those adults the proper citizenship, that way they can continue to do the work, we're just going to get rid of them and then make children do it. So we can groom them and they can become the type of people we want them to be. Right. Somebody come tell my 14-year-old that they got to work overnight on a Tuesday. You would never see it again.
Let me ask you a question. Which families do you think are going to be forced to go work at the age of 14? Some of you might be aware Florida, as with many states, already has child labor laws intact. What SB 918 does is it eliminates certain restrictions for 16 and 17-year-olds that were written in the law previously, and it brings up new things for 14 and 15-year-olds. Now, see, one of the main reasons that this bill is being revisited and re-edited is because the loss of the migrant workers in Florida. DeSantis, see, he's got the perfect solution: children. Because his thought on why 16 and 17-year-olds should be able to work more than 30 hours a week is because, well, someone's got to do the job. So let's talk about what this could mean should this bill continue forward and become the new child labor law in Florida. And I would like to point out that I have been researching this bill and I have seen it framed as a parental rights issue. And they are framing it and quite literally saying Democrats should not be able to choose your child's bedtime. Why? Why would they be talking about parental rights and bedtimes in regard to child labor laws? Oh, that's because in Florida, the current law says that if you are under the age of 17, you cannot work overnight, and you actually cannot work any later than 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. Why is that law in place? Because education is important. And we know even as adults, if we were to work an overnight shift and then have to go in and use our brain and our underdeveloped frontal lobes to learn, our outcomes would not be nearly as successful as a well-rested, well-fed peer that is sitting next to us. That doesn't sound like a parental right issue to me. What that sounds like is people trying to protect children. I digress, as always. What this bill will do is it will eliminate all current time restrictions for working children in Florida. We are now even going to say that 14-year-olds can work overnight. Not only work overnight, but also work overnight on the school nights. Also in that bill, it says that if you are a 16 or 17-year-old, you are entitled to a meal break, not anymore. Because current Florida lawmakers say that your 16 or 17-year-old child, they don't need a meal. They don't need a meal break. Proposed bill is that if your child is 15 or younger, they do deserve a meal break. However, they must work 4 continuous hours in order to earn themselves a meal. Your child has to put in 4 uninterrupted hours in order to get a meal. In this bill, they also talk about how if you are a 14 or 15-year-old and you have already earned your diploma or your GED, you can go to work. Or if you are a virtual student, you get to go to work as well. As long as your teacher is not on site with you, you can get a job. This bill is alarming because it is quite literally just about child exploitation in the work field. It also says that if your family deems that you need to get a job for financial hardships, your superintendent can write off on that. If you're not a really great student, your superintendent can write off on you getting a job as well. I'll ask you a question. Which families do you think are going to be forced to go work at the age of 14? I'll wait. Okay, I don't have all day. Have a great day.
Yes, you heard it right. Florida is now making it easier for teenagers to work for long hours, even overnight shift, just to fill the labor shortage caused by the very lows MAGA voters supported. This is what happens when you vote based on emotions instead of logic. And honestly, I can't help but say this is far for inaction. So how did we get here? Let's rewind a bit. Last year, Florida passed strict immigration laws to make life difficult for undocumented workers. Senate Bill 1719 was supposed to protect American jobs by cracking down on illegal immigration. It required business to use a system called E-Verify to confirm workers' immigration status. It also punished companies that hired undocumented workers and even made it a crime to transport undocumented people into Florida. At the time, MAGA supporters were celebrating. They were chanting about taking back jobs for the Americans. They believed that once undocumented immigrants left, Florida's own citizens would fill those jobs. But here is what they didn't understand. Immigrants were not stealing jobs. They were doing the jobs that no one else wanted to do. They were working in construction, agriculture, hospitality, and other industries that rely on skilled hardworking labor. And when these workers left Florida, they didn't just leave a few empty positions. They left a massive hole in the economy. Fast forward to today, and Florida is struggling. Businesses cannot find workers. Farmers don't have enough people to harvest their crops. Construction projects have stalled. Restaurants and hotels are short of staff. The very people who supported these laws are now the ones complaining the loudest about labor shortages. And what is Florida's solution? Instead of reversing these terrible policies or finding ways to bring back the workers they chased away, they have decided to loosen child labor laws. The new rules allow 16 and 17 years old to work longer hours, even during school nights. Some 14 and 15 years old are also being pushed into jobs that used to be done by experienced adult workers. Think about that for a second. Florida got rid of immigrant workers and now they are replacing them with teenagers. That's how desperate the situation has become. But somehow, the people who voted for these policies still don't want to take responsibilities of what they did. F around and find out, and that's exactly what Florida did. MAGA voters thought that they were punishing immigrants. Instead, they punished themselves. They believed that getting rid of undocumented workers would magically fix everything. Instead, they broke their own economy. Let's be real. Child labor is not a sign of a healthy economy. It's a sign of desperation. This is what happens in struggling countries where adults cannot find work and children have to step in just to keep the economy moving. And yet, this is happening in Florida, one of the richest states in America. And the funniest part, the same people who voted for these laws are now pretending to be shocked. They are crying on social media about labor shortages. They are begging for someone to fix the problem. But here's the thing. This is exactly what they voted for. They can't complain now. This is not the first time MAGA voters have done this. They have a habit of voting for extreme policies without thinking about the long-term consequences. They support cutting social programs and then get mad when they lose benefits. They vote for tax cut for the rich, then complain when there is no money for public service. And now they voted for harsh immigration laws and they are upset that their businesses are collapsing. So what's next for Florida? Will they admit that they made a mistake? Will they push to change the laws and bring back the workers they forced out? Or will they keep on pretending this is not their fault and continue pushing teenagers into the workforce? If history has taught us anything, MAGA voters don't like admitting when they are wrong. They'd rather suffer than admit that they made a bad decision. But at some point, the reality is going to hit them. The economy won't fix itself. Businesses won't magically find workers. And the teenagers they are forcing into these jobs won't be enough to fill the gaps. This is what happens when you vote for policies that sound good on TV, but don't actually work in real life. This is what happens when you let politicians manipulate you with fear instead of facts. And this is what happens when you have around and find out. Florida, you did this to yourself. You voted for these laws. You cheered when immigrants left. And now, your economy is falling apart. And your kids are being sent to work. If you don't like it, don't blame immigrants. Don't blame the businesses. Blame yourself. You made this bed and now you have to lie on it. Maybe next time, before you vote for something, take a second time to think about the consequences. Because right now, Florida is not looking like the land of opportunities. It's looking like a cautionary tale. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.